What are you most proud of so far? Not on paper, but on heart.
So pertaining the work I do or pertaining just me as an individual.
How do you define an educated person?
It is time for African leaders to start implementing education that will solve actual problems in the communities. I'm Jeremiah Oseni. I'm the founder and executive director of the Bigotin Educational Foundation. I'm also the co-founder of AP Designs. But the Bigotin Educational Foundation is my baby, is the one that I'm mostly trained my way into. I'm an international development expert focusing on education, gender inclusion and equity, and also promoting access to tech education, for children, unaccompanied children in underserved communities across Africa. The Bigotin Educational Foundation has been in operation since 2018. We started in the capital city of Abuja and, expanded to other states of the nation, and we've had impact across some other countries in Africa. And currently, we're also operational from the United Kingdom, London precisely. We've had to do private education projects with both local, state governments, federal government, international development partners, diplomatic bodies, and some other international cooperation as well. So in essence, I drive the Bigotin with my team members, and I'm privileged actually to be the executive director.
Personally, I was flipping through your LinkedIn, Instagram, Bigotin, right? Foundation, right? Can you just tell us a little bit more about that, Mr. Jeremiah? What is it about, and what do you do generally in the Bigotin Foundation?
Okay, at the Bigotin Educational Foundation, what I do is simple. I try to make sure that children who are in underserved communities have access to education, because education is the bedrock of development. When any human being is deprived of education, when any human being is deprived of information, they are retarded in so many areas of their lives. Getting education across to those who are underserved, to those who are denied access to, is the main thing that the Bigotin does. How we do it is different. We use different projects, different scope, different, engagement levels to get that done. We lobby policy makers, influence policies, policy decisions across the country and the continent. But primarily what we do is to provide access to education, to remote communities, and individuals that are underserved or emergency, situations. We also champion the drive for tech equality. So this is new. This particular phrase or term is new. Currently we say tech equality, and some other people will be wondering, okay, which one is tech equality again? Gender equality basically is tech. That is what it means, especially for the girl child. So that is what our current flagship project, which is the GYST, stands for, Girls Rebuilding Science and Technologies. We are empowering the girl child with the necessary tools, with the necessary platform, with the necessary equipment, with the necessary network for them to take up more. We're empowering them with STEM for them to take up more tech, science, and engineering careers, in the future. So that's basically what we're doing at the Bigotin Educational Foundation.
And I was thinking, because we've been talking about empowering education in remote areas, right? It means you do not work not only in Abuja and wherever, or Lagos, right? You go to remote areas, right? I would like to know, I think there must be challenges to go to remote areas. Can you just tell us about the setbacks or the challenges? Because I think electricity maybe, because if there is no electricity, there is no education of quality. Maybe about, internet connection in those remote areas. How do you see that? What are the challenges? Because undeserved communities, most of them are found in areas like when there is no internet connection or electricity. How do you do that? How do you cope with that?
Okay, so it's been it's actually been challenging. There are a lot of challenges, that are involved when it comes to doing what we do. Okay, it can really be challenging. Um, but let me say that the challenges that you just mentioned now are even the list of the challenges that we have faced, as an organization. The challenges of electricity, road access, we've had to go to communities before we got to, we had to use a different kind of motorcade, like different kind of vehicles, off-road trucks, just to have access to this community. We've gone to communities to deliver interventions on boats, using boats, using canoes. We've had to walk, across mountains, just to get to communities, and of course, deliver our interventions to them. Sure, there are some communities where, we've had to go to deliver our programs, and reaching there, there's no electricity. So we'll have to, figure out means to get electricity across to them. Maybe, especially using temporary means like generator, providing generator. And in some communities, providing solar powered, electrical systems, for them to use. But like I said, these are just a little of the problem. These ones money can solve, right? And materials can solve. The main challenge is that, we people in the development space get to experience over time is actually the challenge of willingness, because underdevelopment is not by mistake. That's what most people don't know. Underdevelopment is not by mistake. There are people, there are persons, there are systems that are perpetually, they are perpetuating, some sort of plans, evil, just to keep some particular people poor, or just to keep some particular people, deprived from education. Now, this could be as a result of genocide. Okay, this could be as a result of, political starvation. This could also be as a result of isolation. Say religious, isolation or something. Just to impoverish a particular people. Those are bigger challenges. We've had to, lobby policymakers to get them to implement certain policies, and it was a hustle. It was a hustle to say, okay, for instance, when we championed in Nigeria the Child Rights Act, the Child Rights Act, this was an international policy, championed by the United Nations, which was domesticated, which was ratified in Nigeria as way back as 2007. It took more than 2 decades for state governments, through their legislative arms, that's the State House of Assembly, to completely, domesticate that particular policy. So there had to be a lot of lobby, there had to be a lot of protest, there had to be a lot of rally, there had to be a lot of street walks and everything to that. So those ones are even actually the bigger challenges. Sometimes you want to deploy, your intervention, and the bureaucratic, channels, funnels you have to go through to get approval for this, get approval for that, get approval. It's crazy. So those are some very, very challenging bottlenecks that we get to face.
Yeah.
Funding is also one part of it as well. But yeah, we'll talk about that another day.
All right. I'm getting your point. And I'm really loving the conversation, what you're doing in Degotin, brother Jeremiah. But let me take you back a little bit. Can you just share with us and Twitch and everyone who's watching this, how did you come up with the idea? Or can you just tell us a little bit your background? Why did you decide to go for this and maybe to be involved in education? Is this something that you're passionate about? Is this something that you see it is a lack in Africa or in deserved communities? How did you come up with the idea?
Okay. For me, the Begotten Educational Foundation is actually a divine call. The Begotten Educational Foundation came as a result of, it was God's instruction for me to do. It's my thing to do, right? I never planned to do non-profit in my life. I went into university to study a very good course and then graduate and become one of the big boys in town. work with the best, the biggest corporations, and in my 200 level, I got a vision from God. It was a clear, direct instruction, and, that this was what I was going to do. At first, I didn't understand what it means. I thought it was just normal charity, just go give food to beggars on the street. Initially, I thought it was just that normal small scale charity because I didn't understand it. Nobody in my lineage had done philanthropy in the past. Nobody in my lineage had done philanthropy. I didn't understand what philanthropy was. I have never volunteered with any NGO before that time. I didn't know what development was, so it took me time, to get to understand what this was all about. So I took trainings, I took courses, and of course I got the right people, within my circle to, put me through. And then I got mentorship as well. And since it was God's own, since it was a divine call, I got every necessary, requirement or approvals or fundings I needed to get it done. Because it's not mine, it's God's business. So he had to do the supplies and everything added up at the end of the day.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you describe yourself as the E in energy and the V in sweet vibes, right? I was reading this on who shaped the spirit in you. I think I came across this on LinkedIn. What is it, by the way? The E in energy and the V in sweet vibes. What is it?
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So now the truth of the matter is there's also A for amazing. Oh, there's also A for awesome. Okay, you don't know that one. You didn't see that one in the internet. So that talks about the work culture. In the Begotten Educational Foundation, we believe in possibilities. We believe we are very possible that the intervention that we do are making, the impact that we're making are transgenerational. But how we work to deliver this impact matters a lot. So we don't approach problems, from a mindset of doom or from the, glowing, from a dark, perspective. We approach problems that comes our way, the problems that we tackle from a very, very positive angle. So every of our team members, A is for amazing, A is for awesome. We believe that we are capable to do it. That is C, for instance. Then, of course, E is the energy. We put in the positive mindset, positive energy into whatever we do. And, of course, the vibe must be good. That is the V. The vibe must be good. So the fact that, because we are the ones carrying the hope, we're the ones bringing the hope. We're going to the downtrodden. We're going to people who are hopeless. They are voiceless. They are down. They are sick. It's all gloomy all around them. So we have to be the light. So we have to come with a positive energy. We have to come with the message of hope that, don't worry, everything is going to be okay. We're going to give you a tool, which is called education, which is called knowledge, to transform you and, of course, give it the light. So you can't give to somebody what you don't have. So that's why we do development quite differently, right? So it's not about the thing of, roads, book and paper, and all of those things. No, but we come with positivity. We come with message, a good positive message that will lift up the spirit of people. So if you look at the staff of the Begotten, wherever we are always positive. We are always, in the affirmative that something possible must come out from even the worst situation. So that's what that is all about.
That's interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw that you probably studied in England. If it is not private, can you just share with us a little bit your journey in England, what you are studying there, or there is something that you learned from there and you come to implement it in Africa?
Okay, yes. Basically, the reverse is actually the case, right? So I studied in Africa, then came here to do advanced, study. So I'm currently in London, by the way. I'm not in Abuja. I'm currently in London. Yeah. I joined you this morning in London.
You are in London?
Yeah, I'm currently in London. I'm in the UK.
I didn't know. I thought you were in Abuja.
No. I'm currently not in Abuja. So I traveled some days ago, and of course I'll be back, in a few days' time because we have a project that is ongoing which is the GIST project and all of that. So recently I've been traveling a lot, getting to implement, because there's a lot of projects on ground for the foundation across certain countries. So that is actually carrying us to move around quite a lot. For 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 me as an individual, I believe in the saying that says that we're in a global village. The world is just a global village. We are all interconnected, right? So, in terms of education, my education helped me, in Africa, to understand the problem that Africans are facing. Now, I have no issue with, like, as you can see now, I'm studying, in the United Kingdom, advanced degree. But I believe that if you truly would want to solve a problem of a people, you must be there with the people and understand. That's what needs assessment is all about in project management. That is what needs assessment is all about. You must be on ground to assess what the needs of the people are, understand the plight of the people, discuss and carry out random, surveys to really understand what you should be fixing. Now, why development have not really taken root in Africa for a long time, for decades now, is because we have people, philanthropists, development organizations, diplomatic bodies from all the continents of the world who would come to Africa thinking that they understand the problems of Africans, right? And come with their own tailored solution, thinking it's going to work for them. Okay, so what my education did for me, in the grassroots, was to understand the people, understand the culture, understand their needs, and also understand the scope and strategies of implementing them. Now, does it not mean that, to get a better degree outside, and then coming to, putting works on ground, is wrong? No, it's not. It's not wrong as well. That's basically what I'm currently also doing right now, right? So it helps you to, like I said, the world is a global village. It helps you to understand, problem solving from different perspectives, from various diverse angles, just so that you can do what you do better. Being a local champion is almost a disease. It is really bad. So that exposure for you to understand how it works in England, how it works, in the Methodist in Canada, how it works in America is also very vital, So having those knowledge is very, very key so that you can play better and become more relevant on the global stage, solving problems not just in Africa, and also using the African experience to solve problems here is also one of the goals as well. Because there are myriads of issues here as well, ranging from education issues to gender issues, even the tech issues. It's quote unquote an advanced word, but there are solutions from Africa that I have seen clearly. There are gaps that I've seen clearly here, that if we implement solutions from Africa, to those gaps, they are going to have a very wonderful results as well.
I'm really loving. That's very interesting. And to each and everyone who's watching this, Jeremiah, how do you define an educated person, or why is it important to each and everyone to be educated in whatever they're doing?
It is impossible to develop. No matter what, no matter where you are in the world, it will be impossible to develop if you don't have the right education. Now, let me clear this straight. Let me put it straight. The education that we champion is not just the education that comes within the four walls of the classroom. That is schooling. So I'm not championing schooling. At the Begotten Educational Foundation, what we champion is education, the transformation of the mind, the total transformation of the mind. So we're not saying, oh, go to school, go to access to school. We don't pursue access to school. We pursue access to education. There's a difference between schooling and education. Okay. Now, schooling basically can give you, the best schooling can give you is, exercise and some sort of social capital. because you've mixed up, you've mingled with some persons, and then you develop friends, create friendship, and then maybe down the line, this friendship also get to help you. But again, that leads me to the second benefit of education. But the first benefit is there is no there is no development without education. Secondly, even if by means of social interactions you get to grow in some areas, it cannot be sustained without education. It cannot be sustained without the right knowledge. For instance, people interaction, people management. There are some managers that are very horrible. There are some managers that are they are very, very bad. They can't even manage even a soul, not to talk of a team of people, right? Because these are people who lack communication skills. These are people who lack people management skills. These are people who lack interpersonal skills. So these things cannot just come with you having money. You can inherit the vast sum of money on earth, and without the right knowledge on how to manage and sustain that wealth, it will disappear in less than a decade, or it will disappear in less than five years, or even a year. Okay, so education helps a person to be more relevant as well. All right, it helps a person to be more relevant, because now with the highest education comes people who are highly sought after. Not the degrees. Again, not the degrees. I'm not talking about the degrees. There are PhD holders who are useless in the society. Not just even in Africa, even in the Western world. Those are people who went to school. They didn't get education. They went to school. Like in Africa, there's a saying which we usually say that there are some people who allow who went through school. They will not allow the school to go through them. Okay? For you to be educated, you should not just go through school. You should allow the school to go through you. That's the knowledge, the impartation should actually, drive you to where it transforms you, transforms your view, transforms your opinion, and of course makes you somebody relevant in the society.
The country itself has got the way education must be implemented in the country. So how do you merge that? How do you combine that? How do you have something that is common? I don't know whether you get my question.
I think I understand. I understand what you're saying now. Mm-hmm. So the good thing about my country is that even though it's a blessing and a curse, is that education legislatively, that's on the constitution of the country. Education is on the concurrent list. Okay? Education is on the concurrent list. Let me break that down. What that means is that education in Nigeria is not controlled at the federal level. Education is controlled at the state level, state and local level. So the state and local, individuals, they have the right or they have the authority to control, what learning should look like, in their various states. But it is being regulated up. They have the Federal Ministry of Education that oversees quality control and some of other things, budgeting to the government schools. But states, education stakeholders, they have the power, the authority to say, okay, this is where we want to focus on for the next 10 years and all of that. Okay. And also we have the private sectors, right? Who can come up, for instance, the Begotten Educational Foundation, and even other non-profit. We do come up with vocational schools, vocational education, okay? Because for the longest time possible, we haven't seen the solution, the impact. We haven't seen the impact of the ancient curriculum that was being used, in the Nigerian education sector. Translating itself to meaningful use in the workspace, that's in the job market, right? So most development organizations, most diplomatic mission bodies, and of course private entities, private education systems now started rolling out vocational educations. They started changing their curriculum, which is what we also do. We lobby policy makers to see that technical education and vocational educations, become so pronounced, so advanced, and people have access to these skills, digital skills, for instance, that will give them the right jobs, that will solve the right problem in the community. And it is allowed. Now it is allowed. Initially, it wasn't, allowed. So this is what we say when we say education transforming you. So it is not just to go to school to learn biology, to say, okay, what is the human? What is a cell? Learn about the human anatomy. After learning about the human anatomy, what can you do to see that human anatomy becomes better? How can you see that dieting, or reproduction, or digestion system, or other part of that human anatomy, becomes better? Okay, that application of the knowledge now is what proves education, and that is what we do. There are centers, right? There are centers that are clearly for vocational education. For instance, let me give the best way to answer this is through the GIST project, which we currently are running in the Begotten Educational Foundation, which is GYST, Girls Yielding Science and Technology. Now, this is another school entirely of its own. That's the GIST, right? It is refocusing girls, the girl child, from the normal teaching that they are being taught in school to a different, pillar curriculum in STEM. And this is a project, a scientific project-based learning that makes them to come up with practical solutions. But in Africa, development, organizations are seen as, okay, we are competing with the government, or like I said, we want to overthrow the government, or we are inciting the people against the government. No, we're working hand in hand. We're basically when we collaborate with the government, or when the government collaborates with us to work better, then it becomes more effective. Now, I've talked about misconception on the part of the development expert, misconception on the part of the government and the non-profit angle. Let me talk about misconception on the part of the people now. I've been in this field for more than a decade, right? Now, we have also seen, misconceptions where the people think that NGOs are coming as gods, as saviors. NGOs are coming as, my life right now is going to be developed, everything is going to change. It's not true. That's not the thing. NGOs are not gods. NGOs are not the government. Okay? Now, specific NGOs will come with their specific interventions. For instance, the Begotten. We cannot do health. We don't do health. That's not our area. We don't work with, we cannot provide, aesthetic arms to persons with disabilities, like with amputees. We can't settle that. We can't do crime. We are not into criminal justice, advocacy for people who were wrongfully imprisoned. We don't do drug-related matters, right? So if NGOs, so if you're now coming to a community and you're thinking, this NGO is coming to just transform my life overnight. No, that's not the case. That's not usually, the case. Okay. So NGOs are coming to just solve, a fraction of the community issue, and also give the power to you as the community member for you to now use that to transform yourself. The power lies on you as the individual, as the people, not the NGO. The power lies on you, not the NGO. No matter what an NGO gives you, it is not enough to transform your life. No matter what an NGO gives to you. Of course, access to education is the best, but you know what? There has to be that sustenance of that intervention in the community. So if the NGO comes to your community to build a school, for instance, and the NGO leaves, you have to be able to maintain that school. So you shouldn't vandalize the school. And that is what we see in Africa. Because it is an intervention that is not our own, we, the people, will vandalize it. We, the people, will destroy it. We, the people, will misuse it because we don't understand that this thing is actually supposed to be our own. We are supposed to maintain it for the sustainable, transformation of that particular intervention. And then you cannot be in your community for 100 years. It's not possible. Okay? And then you will go someday. So the real transformation lies on the people themselves to lay hold with the thing that the NGO has given to them and then transform their own communities with that.
That's very interesting. You've been talking about struggling. How and where do you get the money, Jeremiah, to fund your organization? Is it easy? How do you get it? Where do you get it?
Okay, so the first 5 years of the Begotten was funded completely by me. You know, when I was introducing myself earlier, I introduced myself as the co-founder of H Design. So H Design is my business. It's a business. I have a business that I do. I also consult. So I do graphic designs.
I saw that. And you do nice graphics.
Thank you. For corporate organization, I work with government agencies, do their designs, do their publications, printings, brandings, and all of that. And I earn way higher from there than what I do in the Begotten. And of course, I also work. I had to also take up jobs. I had to also take up other jobs as consultants, and even staff. I had to have other 9 to 5 in other places. Even though the Begotten is a full-time job, I also had to take up side hustles, other jobs, 9 to 5 jobs, just also to make sure I fund it. So the first 5 years was basically from rent to staff salaries to our projects, funding. Every basic thing was, on the Begotten. Yeah, we got some 1 or 2 supports. We got some, grants here and there, small scale grants, but currently, we enjoy grants from our stakeholders, from people who have come to believe in the vision, come to believe in the projects that we do. And then we get grants from the government, we get grants from corporate organizations now. We get grants from international diplomatic bodies as well, to implement our projects and initiatives that we are championing the Begotten Educational Foundation.
Okay, that's great. And if you had the ears of African governments and donors for a minute, what would you say about the future of education in hard-to-reach places?
Yeah, the future of education is education. By the way, the future is education. The future is education. However, it is time for us to diversify in education, right? To move education just from the 4 walls of the classroom to other aspects of education. To move education from just definition and examples to practical education. In Africa, we have done theoretical education for too long. So if I have the ear, if I to speak, at the EU conference where you have all the African leaders, this is exactly what I would say. It is time for African leaders to start implementing education that will solve actual problems in the communities. The world, I'm in the developed world right now, right? So they don't do definitions and the examples here. Okay, they prove concepts. It is time for Africans to prove the knowledge that we have. Okay, it is time for us to embrace, for us to have access to tech, not just text now. I'm talking about artificial intelligence. It is because Africa is gradually sliding down. Africa is gradually is already losing it in the AI race already. Okay, if you look at China, for instance, there is the DeepSeek. If you look at the US, for instance, there is OpenAI. In Europe, there are a lot of artificial intelligence, solutions that people are using these days to make businesses better, to make life better. There is no one in Africa. There is no one in Africa yet. It should be a big challenge to say, if there is no one in Africa, it means that our development, it means that our education has a fault. It means that our education is faulty. So that's why I say the future is education. If we don't fix our education today, we are always perpetually going to be at the last, at the last end. We're going to be at the preceding end. We should be sick and tired of receiving aid from abroad, receiving aid, our government borrowing money from abroad. We should be sick and tired to say, okay, how do we now? It's a new dawn. We have left the technological age now. We are now in the AI age, in the artificial intelligence age. How many countries right now has a working policy on artificial intelligence to control the use of artificial intelligence? Or they have an AI plan, an AI development plan for the next 60 years? I don't know of that country, not even my country, Nigeria, right now that has such a policy in place. But other countries in the world, they do not just have that policy in place. They are already implementing what they have in that policy. They are already meeting achieving, huge results already. So these are the things that I would advocate for us to have in our classrooms. Our classroom should be equipped with not just technological solutions, but with artificial intelligence solutions, so that our children can can fly at the same level with their counterparts anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. And what are you most proud of so far? Not on paper, but on heart.
Okay, so pertaining the work I do, or pertaining just me as an individual.
Be it you, what you're doing in the education, even you, if you can. There's no problem. Be free.
Yeah. You mean something I'm really proud of, like my biggest achievement?
Yes. Maybe in education, the people we're working with, undeserved communities, because I think in some ways have been impacting people in some states in Africa.
Yeah. I would say the impact that we have made so far, as an organization, the life that we have touched, the impact we've made, in the lives of people, across the world. That's one thing that I would be like, yes, that it really, really gives me joy. It's something that I really cherish. When you come back later and then you see people who you took from the streets, into primary school, and now they are in the university. Some of them they graduated from university, and then it just gives you this joy that yes, that what you're doing makes sense, because there's a lot of discouragement in this thing we do. A lot of discouragement. A lot. Sometimes you invest so much in developing a people, and then just one government policy scatters everything, or just one COVID or something just scatters everything. It can be very discouraging. Sometimes it's even the funding. Maybe the funding is not enough, or the funding is just not coming. It can be very discouraging. But when you see somebody, being transformed, even if there's one out of 100, just being transformed as a result of your effort, it is an amazing thing. It just gives you the joy that makes you forget the other, troubles that you've gone through in the past.
Yeah, the last question is, where can people support Degotin Foundation? They follow your work online, and what's the next chapter of Degotin?
Okay, that's so many questions in one. So the best way to follow us is to go to our website, www.def.ng. That's the Begotten Educational Foundation, def.ng. So you get to know a whole lot about us, what we've done in the past, from the Future 500 Challenge to the Educate Nigerian Educate Panel projects, all the projects that we have, the Street to School, Street to Success. You get to see the team, you get to see, how you can also contribute, donate with us. You get to see how you can volunteer, how you can get in touch, get to be part of the team, and all of that. You can go onto our social media handles as well. And the most active for me, which I prefer, I'm an Instagram person and LinkedIn. You can go onto Instagram, which is at the Begotin, DBEGOTIN. There's no underscore, there's no something, just the Begotin. So if you get to know more about us, if you send us a DM, we'll respond to you as quickly as possible. For the next step for the Begotin, like I said, we've been traveling a lot. We'll be receiving calls, and we've been discussing proposals and discussing projects with young teams, young individuals like yourself in other countries right now who we are interested to deploy, especially the GIST project, with them. So some persons are saying we need to replicate what we're doing, for the girl child in STEM, in STEM, in other countries. Kenya is one of the country. Kenya is one of the country. Egypt also is one of the countries, and we're looking forward to embracing collaborations from other countries within Africa, to deploy the GIST project, because the GIST project is one that is fantastic. It is really transforming, individuals by the day, causing them to, really develop values for themselves and solve, practical, real life issues, practically using STEM solutions. And it's something that we really want to sell, on the global stage as well. So for the Begotten, it is time for us to move. We're scaling right now to countries, and of course, we also open to collaborate more with international development partners at this point to scale up what we have done already in the past years.
Thank you so much.
I just want to, first and foremost, to say thank you to you guys, the You number one, Alex, and of course your team members for putting this together. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do podcast. I don't have the grace for this. I can't do podcast. Maybe I'll do just 1 or 2 episodes and I'll be tired. I'll lose motivation. This is not my area. So but the fact that you guys are doing it and you're consistent. I went to your handle, your channel, saw a couple of videos. I was like, wow, okay, your LinkedIn too. So kudos to you. I don't know how you found me. I was in my own corner. I don't know how you were able to discover me to come have this interview. I'm not big, I'm not a celebrity, but so we're very privileged and I'm really grateful for it. And I know that there are a lot of people behind the cameras too, editors, script writers, people, making sure that this is possible. My warm and candid appreciations to all of you. But most importantly, as we sign up, I would like to call on all Africans to, it's high time for all young Africans, it's high time for us to start looking inwards. It's high time for us to start looking inwards and look at how we can, collaborate, within ourselves to build ourselves. It is very important. All young Africans, all Black nations from wherever you are, be you in the United Kingdom, in the United States, in the Caribbean, in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East, it is high time for us to come together, especially those of us in the diaspora. It's high time for us to come together and build Africa. We are the only ones who can build the Africa of our dreams. It is high time we do it. We need to work with our government. We need to work with the international organizations, but we need to know that for Africa's story to change, we need to be the drivers. We need to be the drivers of the new Africans that we want, that we want to see. So it's just my call out there. If you are watching this podcast, feel free to reach out to me. Let's collaborate. Feel free to reach out to the host of this podcast. Let's collaborate. Let's come up with some sort of solution. If you have a solution, feel free to share and let's work together and share resources, share knowledge, and share data, and just collaborate and see what we can do. But I strongly believe that now more than ever we have all the resources at our beck and call to actually transform the continent of Africa. The time is now for us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you on set, and thank you so much again for accepting our invitation. It was a pleasure, Jeremiah, to have you and to get to know and to get connected. I think we're going to keep in touch. Thank you so much, Jeremiah, for our invitation in the conversation.
You're most welcome.
See you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, keep in touch.
Bye.